Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Wellness Week presentation on DBT skills for emotional and physical wellness. My name is Alyssa Vasquez, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about specific DBT skills. I was just mentioning here to people that are present that this is going to be best for maybe newer clinicians or people who may not know too much about DBT. It'll be a little bit of an overview, and we'll go over a couple skills that I think can be helpful. I thought this would be good for us as clinicians because I think we sometimes learn stuff to apply to clients, but they can also be really helpful in applying them to ourselves. So the goal for this is to look at a couple things that I think we can use for ourselves. And for those, for either of you here, if you have any questions, you can always ask going along. So my name is Alyssa Vasquez. I've done quite a few trainings on DBT. I've run DBT groups in various levels of care, and I also use it in private practice currently with my clients. I am a doctoral student, currently now a doctoral candidate, so I just passed my comprehensive exam, which is exciting. It's very, yay. So I'm excited to be sharing some of the knowledge that I've learned along the way. Okay, so first to begin, I want to talk a little bit about what mindfulness is. And I think I'm sure many of us have heard of what mindfulness is. Maybe we have preconceived beliefs that it's sitting for an hour and meditating, doing some oming, somewhere tranquil. But mindfulness really can just be doing something short and really being present in the present moment and really increasing our awareness of what's happening inside and outside of us. I really think that mindfulness is like a building block to improving wellness, because you really need to be able to be mindful of what's going on in this moment in order for you to use some of the other skills to do this. So always being able to practice checking in and being mindful is the first place. So what mindfulness is, and this comes from DBT, hey Jasmine, is intentionally living with awareness in the present moment. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but like sometimes if our mind is like focused on the future, we're feeling more anxious. Or if our mind is focused on the past, we might have more like depression, sadness, some of those thoughts come up for us. But if we can really work on bringing ourselves to this present moment and really being intentional with being here, here in the here and now, it can really help us reduce our anxiety and then also live aligned with what's important to us. The second part of mindfulness is really being present in this moment without judging or rejecting. So like, for example, sometimes we might be noticing I'm having some thoughts right now, and then we start judging our thoughts. But really just like noticing what's going on and being okay with that and not judging, letting it go is all part of mindfulness as well. Thirdly, it's without attachment to the moment. So it's really attending to the experience of each new moment rather than ignoring the present by clinging to the past programming. So that's kind of DBT's definition of what mindfulness is. So I want us to practice it quickly using a mindful body scan. So I really like body scans because they are a great way of kind of checking in with what's going on in my body. Am I feeling tension somewhere? Am I feeling anxious? How am I holding that anxiety in my body? Oh my gosh, I wasn't breathing. Now I know I should check in to make sure I'm breathing again and slow that down a little bit. So doing a body scan is a great way to check in with our wellness and see how we're doing. So if everyone wants to turn off their video for a few moments while we do this video, I'd love for people here to try it out. I'll turn off my camera too, because I could go for a mindful body scan as well. If you feel anxious at all or it's uncomfortable anyway, you don't have to participate or try it out. But I would encourage and invite you to take a moment to check in with yourself. How are you feeling in your body in this moment? So feel free to stop your cameras if you'd like.
Exercise is the short version of the body scan mindfulness.
I just want to check, can you hear this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great.
Activity. It can help you become more aware of your present moment sensations and more accepting and in contact with what's going on in your body. This can help with reducing stress and triggering relaxation. So let's begin. Start by bringing attention into your body. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or just soften your gaze. Notice your body seated wherever you're seated, and feel the weight of your body on the chair or on the floor, and notice the chair pressing into you. Take a few deep breaths. And as you take a deep breath, bring in more oxygen, enlivening the body. And as you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. Now, notice your feet on the floor. Notice the sensations of your feet touching the floor, the weight and the pressure, the vibration or the heat. Notice your legs against the chair or against the ground. What do they feel like? Do you notice pressure, pulsing, heaviness, lightness? Notice each sensation without judging it as good or bad, but simply as a sensation. Notice your back pressing against the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, notice that sensation. Let it soften. Take a breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensation going on in your arms. Notice your shoulders. Let them hang down. Let them soften. Notice your neck and your throat. Let them be soft. As you breathe in and breathe out, imagine your breath filling that space in your neck or in your shoulders, allowing those areas to open up, relax, and soften. Soften your jaw. Let your facial muscles be soft. Notice if you're holding tension around your mouth or in your brow. Now notice your whole body present. Take one more breath in and out. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. Take a slow breath, and then when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Everyone is open to it. I'd love to hear a little bit about what was that like for you? What did you notice? Did you notice your thoughts wandering? Did you notice any body sensations? Would anyone mind sharing what that was like?
Sure, I'll share, Alyssa. This is Jacqueline. Yeah, I love body scans as well. For me, I love the idea of the breathing, and I appreciate my thoughts. They do wander during body scans or any kind of meditation, actually. So, what I normally do is I notice the thought and not engage, and then try to bring myself back to the present moment. I love the quietness and I love the voice. The voice of the person is very important. And from my body scans, I like to kind of go from the top to the bottom. But yeah, I really love a body scan. I like the music and the tone of the person is important to me too. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Jacqueline. Did anyone notice kind how their body felt before or after, or what their thoughts felt like before or after?
I will have to do mine's over.
Yeah, you have a kid running around.
However, I tried to censor my thoughts when he was not making noise. And what I gathered from it was the part where it said, just identify those body parts like your back and your hands and things like that without judgment. And right now I know that it's like my back, my legs are like touching the floor, and it asks, how does it feel? And for me, it's heavy because I know that, my body needs rest. But what I loved about it was saying, just recognize these things without judging them. Because for me, if I judge them, then I'm giving myself anxiety and waiting on depression to come, because I'm, telling myself, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. And, just being in that moment, if I was able to be in that, quiet space, I think I would have benefited from it more than in this moment. But I like that.
Yeah, and even hearing, I appreciate you even hearing and just noticing things and seeing how that might apply for you. I think that's still really wonderful. I think for me, I was kind of running around before the presentation, so it was kind of a nice way for me to center myself and slow down a little bit. So maybe I'll start talking a little slower too. But so I appreciate these body scans as a way of just checking in of like what's going on. For counselors, I think it's a really great thing to do in between sessions. I think it's a great way of checking like, hey, how am I feeling after doing that session? Maybe I feel really anxious. And it kind of helps you let go, or at least realize, what do I need to do next? Maybe it's doing some self-care. Maybe you realize you're hungry. Maybe you forgot you had to go to the bathroom today because you've been running around all day. So it's a good way of just checking in of like, okay, how can I take care of myself now that I've checked in with where my body is at. When you're doing mindfulness activities, one of the things to do that, like, sometimes we'll notice like our thoughts will wander. And there's other things that you can do, like thought diffusion is another skill that I'm not going to talk about, or like leaves on the stream. You can notice your thoughts wandering and kind of let them go, but then bring your attention back to this present moment. And the more that you practice that, so like letting your thoughts wander and coming back, letting your thoughts wander and coming back, is kind of like you working out that mindfulness muscle. And you're going to, over time, get better and better at being able to be present in the moment. So that's a little bit about mindfulness.
This exercise is the short version.
So I don't know if I want to do the videos for these, but mindfulness and DBT is split into what and how skills. So what skills is like, what are you doing when you're trying to be mindful? Like, what are things that you can do? So the first one is observe. And you can just simply even take a moment to observe, what am I feeling in my body, kind of like the body scan we did. You can pay attention to thoughts that you're having, emotions that you're experiencing, what's going on around you in your environment. Sometimes even just like looking outside, just observing something that's in your environment, looking out the window, observing people going outside and observing others, but just observing is a mindfulness skill in itself. Describing is also a what skill. So you would want to kind of put words to the experience. So like, for example, if I am, well, right now I can look out my window and I can observe that there's palm trees and they're swaying in the breeze. And I'm describing that, and I can label that that's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not putting judgments on it. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, it looks cloudy outside and that's a bad thing. It's more of just like, I'm noticing that trees are kind of swaying right now. And that's more kind of sticking to the facts of what I'm seeing. And Dr. Machuca is joining. And then you can participate. Hi, Dr. Machuca. By participating, you're becoming one with whatever you're doing. You're immersing yourself in that one moment and really going with the flow. So you're just doing whatever it is that you're doing in that present moment. So an example of that could be, like, let's say you're washing dishes. So when you're washing dishes, you just really focus on being present in that moment, washing these dishes, instead of thinking about your to-do list or having TV on in the background, or doing some other things. It's just practicing washing these, just noticing, what does that hot water feel like, noticing the suds, the movement of using your hand as you're washing the dish, for example. that in itself is you participating and being mindful in that moment. So it doesn't take a lot to be mindful. Like you can just do things but be present in them. That is mindfulness. Yeah, any thoughts on that? I'm seeing some reactions.
I said that Lauren is practicing very mindfulness chewing. She's really engaged in it. She's looking, she's really putting herself in that. Anything can be mindfulness, and look like me, you're very mindfulness in what you're doing right now. I don't know if that fits on this, but it just looks like it to me.
Mindful chewing, yes. Honestly, that could be a mindfulness skill. We can make it that. For those of you, I think maybe we can send out the PowerPoint too, so you can maybe have access to these little videos, or you can just kind of look it up. DBT RU has really great videos on each of the skills, and they're pretty entertaining and enjoyable to watch. So it's not. Okay, these are the how skills. How would you do it? How do you engage in mindfulness? So first of all, you want to be non-judgmental. So like we were talking about, if your thoughts wander, just notice it and come back. Like you were saying about your back, my back's bothering me. I'm noticing it instead of judging. I'm just noticing it. Maybe I can do something about it later, but I'm just noticing in this moment that my back's bothering me. You want to do things one mindfully, so do one thing at a time. How many people here are multitaskers, doing 10 million things all at the same time? Probably a lot of us. But really doing things one mindfully is focusing on doing one thing at a time. I'm still working on this. I still feel like I'm always doing a bunch of things at once. But I do find that I get things done more quickly, and sometimes even more quickly if I do that one thing. And then effectively. So be mindful of your goals and do what works. Well, I don't know. Well, if you want to watch the video, it kind of explains that a little bit more, but we don't have to go into that too much right now. Anyway, so these are mindfulness skills. I think, yeah, so that's kind of all I'm going to talk about with mindfulness. But I hope that makes sense. I feel like people kind of are aware of mindfulness, but I think it's really important that we start here as counselors to be able to check in with ourselves before we decide what am I going to do to take care of myself next. Okay, so my next question, I think, comes up a lot for counselors and counselors in training, especially as students, right, is what can you do if you're overwhelmed and stressed, right? How many of us have been stressed or overwhelmed before? Yeah, probably currently, right?
Look, this is my current mood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the answer to that question.
Well, I don't know if we'll solve everything, but it's one little notch that we can take to kind of bring down anxiety. So I'm going to go over the DBT tip skill. I have a feeling it's probably taught in some of our classes here, so you may have heard it, but I still think it's important for us to talk about. But the tip skill focuses on changing your body chemistry. So I don't know if anyone has ever been really overwhelmed with something that they just like freeze up, or they like can't function, or they're just so overwhelmed with the emotion that they can't think straight. This is the skill that would be helpful for that, because sometimes we can't think our ways out of a problem. Sometimes we need to first let our body calm down so that we can bring our thinking brain back online, so we can work through stuff more effectively. So these skills are meant to kind of shift how our body's functioning, so that we can then think through stuff. So T stands for tip to temperature, I stands for intense exercise, C stands for safe breathing, and then the other P stands for paired muscle relaxation. So we're going to show a cute video. I think the artwork is a little funky, so don't judge it. Again, we're doing this non-judgmentally today, but I think it's going to be a great explanation of this skill. So tip to temperature focuses on using kind of cold water we can either use it to kind of shock ourselves out of anxiety if we're really distressed and kind of need to ground ourselves, but we can also use it to trigger the mammalian dive response. I always say mammalian, I always have trouble pronouncing it. So that's pretty good. All right, so the mammalian dive response, this skill will help trigger it. And what that means basically is, I don't know, has anyone ever dove into water or been swimming and they feel kind of calm underwater? Anyone noticed that before? And that's because like there's like a nerve, the vagus nerve that runs through our brain, our body, and it's definitely present here as part of our face. But when our face is underwater, it kind of triggers to our body of, hey, you're underwater, you need to slow down your heart rate and slow down your breathing so that you can conserve oxygen, so that you can survive underwater while you do it. So basically tricking our body into thinking we're underwater is going to help us calm our body. So one thing you can do is you can literally put your face in a bowl of cold water, which I actually haven't tried. I know it helps, but it's a little inconvenient sometimes to do that. Or you can just hold a Ziploc bag of water, go like halfway and hold it here, and then you'd want to bend your head forward and hold it for like 30 seconds. All that can kind of trigger that response. Also taking a cold shower, or if you want to take a hot shower to kind of go the other direction to stop you out of something. But just changing your body temperature can be helpful. I'm going to show you a quick video on it. I just think it's very effective to kind of drive the point home. I'll show this one here.
I want to teach you about the tip skills, which are another set of skills that are really useful for when you're in crisis. And specifically, the tip skills are designed for times when your emotions are so intense or your stress is so intense that you can't even think straight. Kind of like when your emotions or stress levels are so high that you can't even think about another skill to use. The tip skills are designed to reduce your stress and emotion enough so that you could think about other skills that you want to use. So the tip skills all have to do with changing your body chemistry in order to reduce extreme emotions as quickly as possible. The T in tip stands for tip the temperature. And specifically, what we're trying to do with tip the temperature is to use cold water to trick your body into thinking that you're actually swimming underwater. It sounds crazy, but the idea is that when humans, or when mammals in general, swim in cold water, their heart rate decreases in order to increase the likelihood of survival. When we're feeling intense emotions and intense stress, our heart rate is elevated, our sympathetic nervous system is elevated. So tipping the temperature allows us to decrease our heart rate and activate our parasympathetic nervous system. That's a lecture for a different day. But how you tip the temperature is to trick your body into thinking that you are in cold water. The way to do this is to get a bowl of ice water, to hold your breath, and to plunge your face in that bowl of cold water. To try to hold it for at least 30 seconds. If you don't have a bowl of ice water handy, an alternative would be to take a Ziploc bag of ice or an ice pack and hold it over your eyes, temple, and upper cheeks. If you do this method, you still want to trick your body into thinking that it's underwater, and the way to do that is to hold your breath and tilt your head over so that you're bending over as though you're diving into water. And again, hold your breath and try to do it for at least 30 seconds. Just a minor note.
Okay, so hopefully that's pretty clear. But this was a really effective technique. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm not going to show every video, but they're here. Maybe we can share them, or you can just look it up again online on YouTube. So intense exercise is really helpful to calm down your body. I always give this example. I don't know if anyone's ever observed a squirrel, but squirrels seem to constantly be on edge and alert and running away from danger. I don't know if you've noticed, like a squirrel right now. What researchers have noticed or observed with squirrels is that after their cortisol levels are able to come down to baseline very quickly after being on alert and being in that fight or flight response. And so what they found is that what squirrels do is they shake. So after they're really anxious and they just go through that fight or flight mode, they shake their body. And that helps release a lot of their excess energy. And you'll kind of notice that with like dogs or other animals too, where they'll shake after they get really excited or anxious about something. And so for human beings, sometimes doing something like a little intense exercise, we're feeling really anxious, can help us kind of shake off that excess energy. So dancing, running, walking, playing basketball, lifting weights, all that stuff can help us kind of get rid of excess energy. I always recommend, like, if anyone struggles with disordered eating habits or has a kind of a tough relationship with exercise, I always encourage maybe talking to your professionals or maybe just going for a walk. But this is a great skill to kind of bring down anxiety as well. Okay, the P stands for pace breathing. So the goal here, I'm sure everyone here has probably heard of deep breathing, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But again, the recommendation is to really focus on maybe, you put your hand on your chest and hand on your belly. When you're breathing, you should be breathing into your nose and breathing deeply into your belly so that your hand on your stomach is coming out as you're breathing in, and then it's going back in as you're breathing out through your mouth. The goal, if you remember anything about pace breathing, the recommendation is to make sure that you're breathing out more than you breathe in. If you're breathing out more, it's going to help trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's going to help bring that calming sensation to yourself. So breathing out more than in. I really like breathing in 5 counts, holding 4 counts, and breathing out 8 counts. That feels good for me and really helps me reduce my anxiety. For other people, you might want to adjust it depending upon like your lung capacity and what feels good for you. But it's definitely an important thing to know as counselors. Period muscle relaxation. Has anyone here heard of progressive muscle relaxation before? Yeah. So period muscle relaxation really is just like the goal is to tense your muscles. So like you can squeeze, even if you just try it now, just like squeezing all of your muscles in your body and then breathing in and holding and then releasing all of your muscles as you breathe out through your mouth. And if you do that a couple times, breathe in through your nose and hold, and then breathe out and let go and relax. You're going to notice this calming sensation kind of come over your body. So then this is a very quick thing that you can do. Again, in between sessions, or if you're just stressed out or need to kind of prep to do some homework or write a paper that night, this can be a nice thing to kind of bring in a little bit of relaxation so you can be more effective in what you need to do. Progressive muscle relaxation, there's a lot of videos on YouTube, or you have like some of those like meditation apps that will go muscle group by muscle group through your body to tense and relax those muscles, and it will do the same thing, really give you that really nice relaxation feeling. Okay, so that's the tip skill. The next skill, and this skill comes from, the tip skill is also from this, but from the stress tolerance skills or crisis survival skills from DBT. The self-soothe skill I decided to pick for us tonight because I think it's pretty easy and I think it's really enjoyable to do. But the goal is to self-soothe with your 5 senses. So if you're really overwhelmed after you did that body scan, you're like, oh man, I'm tense, I need to kind of relax or do something to self-soothe tonight. Using your 5 senses can be a really great way to do so. You can do so with vision, with hearing, with smell, with taste, or with touch. So I think, yeah, let's watch a little video.
One DBT crisis survival skill is called self-soothe. The central idea behind self-soothing is to actually be nice to yourself during times of crisis. For some people, self-soothe comes pretty naturally, though for others, there are a couple of obstacles that can get in the way. One obstacle is having the belief that if you're in crisis, or if other people are in crisis, you don't deserve soothing at this time. Another obstacle is when you have the belief that other people should soothe you, believing I shouldn't have to soothe myself. Both of those things get in the way of practicing this skill. Do your best to recognize when those obstacles show up and do the skill anyway. A way to remember things that you might do to soothe yourself is to think about your 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and find soothing things to do in each domain. With vision, you can think about images that are soothing to you. You can look out a window. You can look at the night sky. You can find a picture of a painting online. You can look at photographs. You can go for a walk and really just take in the vision of nature. With hearing, you can put on soothing music, music that you really love. You could hum or sing a soothing song. You can play an instrument. You can listen to other people playing instruments. You can make a mix of songs that all soothe you in a particular way. With smell, think about using scents that are soothing to you. Candles with scents or spices, cooking smells, or using lemon oil, or even cleaning products that may have a nice smell. Make a cup of coffee or walk into a coffee shop and inhale the aroma. Smell freshly cut wood or pine needles. Or go out and take a walk and notice the smells of nature or fresh air. With taste, this is often everyone's favorite. Soothing yourself with taste is eating some of your favorite foods, drinking teas or other beverages that have strong and soothing flavors, eating something that is soothing for you from your childhood, in moderation, of course. Or also with candy or a little bit of special food that you don't normally spend money on. These are all ways to soothe yourself with taste. And with touch, taking a long hot bath or a shower, petting an animal, getting wrapped in a blanket that's really comfortable for you, or sheets that are cool, giving yourself a massage, hugging a pillow, feeling clay, putting on your favorite sweatpants that have soothing texture, or putting lotion on and just noticing the sensation of the lotion on your skin. Ultimately, we're thinking about these 5 senses as a way to generate activities or items that give us a sense of pleasure, and also just promote this intent of being kind to ourselves. That's the skill, self-soothe, that will help us manage our crises more effectively.
Okay. That's self-soothe.
One DBT crisis survey.
I did include, so from the official DBT handout, this is the list that they came up with for people. There is a link here if we have access to the PDF of this later that you can click on to get this worksheet. But it's sometimes nice to kind of go through and kind of check off ones that you could do potentially and make your own list of things that you could self-soothe. So that if you're having, it's really nice if you're having a tough day to have a go-to list that you're like, all right, today sucks. I just did a body scan. I'm feeling really stressed. What can I do for a few moments to get my mind off of stuff? So maybe for someone, it's like, I'm going to go make macaroni and cheese for dinner tonight, and that makes me feel better. Or I'm going to burn a CD because people do that still these days, right? No? Okay. But anyway, so there's this little list, obviously making your own. This one will take a few minutes to talk about, but it's actually a really big, complicated skill. Has anyone learned about radical acceptance before? Yeah, you have. This skill I kind of consider the all else fails skill. I think if you can problem solve, if there is something you do to fix the situation, it's good. But if you're just kind of stuck in things and you just have to kind of get through it, then radical acceptance can be helpful. I think this skill can be applied in certain ways for maybe us as counselors. For example, going through the pandemic, it was pretty stressful, and I think everyone here probably felt like it shouldn't be like this. This is bad. This is really hard. But we all kind of had to go through this process of accepting that this is the change that we have to go through. And if I was accepting and still trying to be effective in my life, what would I do to act as if I'm accepting and move forward with this? First, actually, let me go to this slide. So what radical acceptance is this means radical is all the way in, complete and total. So, and then it is accepting your mind, your heart, and your body. And it's when you really stop fighting reality, stop throwing tantrums because reality is not the way you want it, and let go. So I brought this one in because I think I've experienced it too, where I'm really stressed with school and I have so much on my plate and I feel like I can't do this, and I'm pushing against it shouldn't be like this. I don't want to be working this hard right now. I don't have the brain capacity for this. Or maybe I've heard some students share struggling with things should be different, in the program or in a class or something, and just really getting those shoulds and the why me's really getting in the way of functioning effectively and stuff done. So it's helpful if you're starting to notice that you're pushing against reality as it is, and really frustrated with things constantly, and it's really impacting you. Sometimes taking a kind of taking a step back and checking in with, is there something I need to work on accepting? Do I need to try to bring in more understanding of the situation? Do I need to kind of look back to why things are the way that they are and work on accepting and bringing in some mindfulness there? So radical acceptance can be helpful when we're really struggling with things shouldn't be this way. I think it's a part of self-care because it does help with letting go of things that might be, it's not as helpful to stay in, but it's definitely a complicated skill. So I'm happy to take time to talk about more. I think I have time. Let's watch a little video on it because I think it explains it pretty well what radical acceptance looks like.
Crisis survival skills are great and provide much needed help for how to get through difficult moments without doing anything that might make the situation worse in the short or long term. But crisis survival skills are also limited. They're meant to provide help with an immediate distressing situation. They're not intended to be used every moment of every day. In fact, using crisis survival skills every moment of every day will likely lead to negative consequences and may also reduce their effectiveness over time. So that's where radical acceptance comes in. Radical acceptance is the skill for when your life or the world is not exactly how you want it to be, which means that for most of us, this is a skill for always. Radical acceptance means accepting this moment or this situation exactly as it is in this moment. Accepting that this moment couldn't be any other way given the billions and billions of things that have happened that led up to it. Now, before we go any further, I just want to make something very clear. Radical acceptance does not mean we have to approve or like our life, this moment, or the world exactly as it is. Some of us are living in hell right now and want desperately with our whole being to be out. Radical acceptance is not about getting rid of that wanting. Radical acceptance is about turning our minds from rejecting reality, which is telling ourselves how it shouldn't be this way, which usually only creates more suffering for us, and instead accepting reality, recognizing that everything is caused, whether we like the causes or not, and that changing reality requires accepting it first. Practicing radical acceptance then requires first noticing that we are fighting reality. The word should is often a good indicator, or the words why me. Once we're aware that we're rejecting reality, we can take a step back and observe what's going on in our mind and in our body. We can observe what rejecting reality feels like. Now make a choice to work on accepting reality. Turn your mind towards accepting reality. Take a deep breath. Turn your palms up into a willing posture so that your hands are communicating to your brain that you're working on being willing. Remind yourself that everything has a cause, even situations that elicit great pain and suffering. Remind yourself that life can be worth living even with these painful moments. Remind yourself that it's okay, actually more than okay, to have sadness about how things currently are for you or for the world. It will take time, maybe a long time, to get to a place where practicing radical acceptance leads to greater peace and calm. Keep practicing. Over time, you will find that if you stop running away from reality, you'll become more effective and therefore more likely to reach your goals, enact positive changes, and make the next moments ones that are easier to accept.
Okay. So I thought that made sense to people, but I think it's helpful to just notice when we're having those shoulds and the why me's and we're kind of pushing against how things are. And it's a little bit easier to accept how reality is. And then from there, you can choose what you want to do with it. So like if you're really stressed with school and work and maybe balancing kids and family, or maybe you're planning something else crazy or going through a job change, it's all very stressful and there's a lot of stuff on our plate. And sometimes taking that step back and recognizing that, okay, this is my reality. This is where I'm at. What can I do that's going to, given this situation, help me move forward? So maybe it's taking something off your plate if you have to. Maybe it's just becoming more effective by using skills and working on anxiety. Maybe it's making sure we see a counselor to get support while we're going through a lot of stuff. but this can be a really helpful skill to check in and kind of move forward. That's what we want to do.
Let's have a question in reference to that. Does
Yeah.
it speak to having an understanding of what you can, maybe this is what you said, having an understanding of what you can, what you're in control of and what you're not in control of at that moment? Is that a part of that radical acceptance?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Because it's like what, let me see this. But yeah, there's some things that we are in control of, right? And so it's looking at what can I control and what can I not control in this moment, and kind of accepting the things that we can't control, and focusing more, like taking our energy off of those things. So instead of being so focused on those things and being angry and frustrated and spending all our energy there, it's really trying to shift our focus and turning towards what we can control and what we can change, and what's going to help us move towards our goals and values in the long run. It's a very complex skill. So I'm not expecting, I think I had to talk about it and learn about
Crisis survival.
many times before I'm like, oh, this actually is very helpful. I think at first I was like, oh, I don't want to accept hard things. That doesn't sound good. That sounds kind of invalidating. But it actually can be really helpful when applying. It's really great to use with clients who have really like difficult family situations, to help move forward and heal, and kind of create a life that's worth living for them, while this reality still exists. So it can be really helpful with that too. We're not going to go over this, but there's radical acceptance steps of things that you can do. So if you're interested, you can always look those up as well. Okay, so what if you want to improve your overall wellness? So this is when you might want to focus on the DBT please skill. And this comes from the emotion regulation module of DBT. And it really focuses on how our physical body and emotional, mental, psychological part of our brain, here, let's make that more simple. Our physiology and our brain are really connected. And so taking care of our body is going to help us also take care of our brain and our mental wellness. So bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure people here have seen this before. Our physiological needs are at the bottom. Like we need to have these needs met in order for us to continue moving towards, higher self-actualization. So this is kind of focusing on the physiological part of our lives, so we can, have more emotional regulation and work towards our goals. Anyway, so please, not the best acronym because but we're going to go with it. But please stands for treating physical illness. E stands for balanced eating. A stands for avoid mood altering substances. S stands for balancing sleep. And E stands for get exercise or engage in mindfulness. I'm sure as clinicians, we've all seen stuff like this before, and we know that this is helpful, but it's just a good reminder that these are great things to work with. And it's good to remind our clients too that we need to treat physical illness, that we need to take care of ourselves, go to the doctor, get taken care of, and make sure that that's all in place before we can do other things now too. With balanced eating, I usually I work with eating, I specialize in eating disorders. So with balanced eating, I want to be cautious in that it doesn't mean eat clean or go crazy and restrict certain food groups, but more it means being balanced around making sure you're having 3 meals, 3 snacks a day, or you're eating enough to sustain yourself, to fuel your body. It's not restricting certain foods, but allowing yourself to eat things. Moderation is a great thing if you want to use that as well. I personally recommend intuitive eating. There's books on it, and we've used it in our work with clients with eating disorders. But intuitive eating really focuses on checking in, being mindful of our hunger fullness cues before eating, and choosing foods that taste good, that satiate us, that nourish our body. But that's what kind of intuitive eating looks at. I'm very anti-diet. That's my whole thing and my things that I'm passionate about. I'm not going to talk about that today, but I do recommend that if anyone's been struggling with the cyclical dieting, going on and off the diet, to maybe do some research on like anti-diet and kind of learn more about how can we just work on being mindful eaters and taking care of ourselves with more balanced eating. So yeah, any thoughts, questions there? I'm always happy to answer them. This is the intuitive eating book that I was recommending, but there's 10 different concepts from it that I think are great for people to check in on. We're not going to do that today. Avoid mood altering substances. So substances can impact how we feel, we can deplete dopamine and serotonin. Neurotransmitters have been shown to play an important role in mood regulation. So just be cautious with that. Make sure you're engaging only in moderate drinking or sobriety if you choose to do so. Making sure that you're balancing sleep. These are all the recommendations from DBT. They really recommend, I'm sure we've all heard of like a sleep hygiene schedule here, but it's important to, let me see what would be interesting. I'm working on this one personally, trying to avoid screen time before bed. I don't know if anyone else, but this one definitely can impact us. But this is just a great list, a checklist of things that we can maybe explore. Can I do something differently if I'm getting enough sleep or so I'm falling asleep better? Get exercise, or we also call it mindful movement. So this is good for your memory and your brain functioning. It can help protect against chronic disease, lower blood pressure, improve heart health, can improve your sleep, reduce anxiety and depression, combat cancer-related fatigue. So movement is a really great thing. Again, just be cautious if you have a rough relationship, we'll go with that, with movement, make sure that you're being mindful with movement. But even just walking, like going out and taking a mindful walk, can be really beneficial to your health. This is more talking about mindful movement. I'm not going to talk about that today. These are good questions to ask yourself. So if you're questioning, like, do I have an issue relationship with exercise? It might be good to ask yourself these questions. So are you moving your body in this way because you truly enjoy it or because you feel obligated by someone else, friend, doctor, society? Are you being mindful and respectful of your current mental, emotional, and physical limitations? So like if you're injured or if you're exhausted from what's been going on, sometimes it's important to take a break from movement. Is the movement creating joy or is it creating stress? Do you feel energized and uplifted after participating in the movement, or are you run down and exhausted? Do you like this movement and would participate in it regardless of whether it was good for your health or not? So these are all good questions that are important to ask. Check in on your intention behind exercising for doing movement. So I'm just kind of going to pause here. I think that's my last slide. Asking you guys, you don't have to respond, but I would encourage you to think about one small goal from any of these depleted skills that you might want to adjust. So that's just kind of your take home for tonight. So any thoughts or questions for me? I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. This was very informative. I definitely need to work on E. Am I pleasing? The last one. As far as like getting more exercise, and even if it's just walking, like you just said, like a mindful walk. I think that's a start for me as towards like my healthy body physical goal.
Yeah.
But overall, the presentation was very good. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. I hope it made sense.
It did, definitely.
I agree. I agree, Chanel. It was very interesting. And I'm agreeing with Dr. Machuca. My sleep schedule is, I don't really know what it is. But anyway, it's a interesting schedule. I need to read. I get up at 4 in the morning and it's a weird schedule, but I appreciate some of the things I got from this presentation. Definitely anything about mindfulness. I didn't know the DBT was infused with so many different mindfulness techniques and activities. So I really appreciate this. And I want to get more information about the radical acceptance because I know a little bit about it. And I'd like to get a little bit more information about that that radical acceptance. Is this presentation, are you going to send this to us, or you just give us some links of how we can find some of the things? I like the slide that you gave us about the different things you can do. I don't know what the acronym was, but different things you can do.
The
Anyway,
please one. Yeah.
no, because it was a little where you can check the boxes off.
Oh,
Uh,
Maybe the tip skills.
yeah. There you go. There you go. Self-soothing with your five senses skill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really a good one. So yeah, I like that one too. So great presentation. Thank you a lot. This is my gig mindfulness. So thank you, Alyssa. Great job.
thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I love DBT stuff. I did not get it at first, and I was like forced to run groups and teach it, and I was like, I don't know what this is, and now I get it. I kind of drink the Kool-Aid. I'm like, it's actually really helpful. So I do highly recommend it. And if it's confusing and not really making sense, I do recommend doing a training online. There's some great stuff. Watch some YouTube videos. There's podcasts on DBT. But it's really great to use for yourself, but then also with your clients. So I definitely recommend it. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Any other thoughts, questions?
I'm definitely taking with me the acronyms. I love acronyms. And I like how I can check off some of the self-soothing exercises here. The gum chewing, that's number one.
Oh yeah, right there.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll also be looking at some more things to add to my self-soothing skills too. So yeah, definitely got my wheels turning about that. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. DBT has lots of cool skills. There's other lists that are like this, like checklists that they have that I like even more too. But I didn't know how much I could fit in today, so we just did these. So yeah, so thank you all for being here. We're recording this, so we'll put it up on the website, I think, so other people can access it. And then my name is Alyssa Vasquez, and I'm happy to, if you ever want to email me any questions, I'm happy to talk about it.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Namaste.
Bye. Let me stop recording.